So check this out. I was watching UFC 127 way late because I work overnights and I didn't have the night off, so I had to wait. And I noticed that it was bullshit on the main card. BJ Penn did very good the first round and then was completely dominated for the second 2 rounds. He spent most of the end of the second round pinned against the cage, being beaten in the face. And for most of the beginning of the second round, he was just being physically overpowered and outstruck or whatever. According to the statistics, there's no way this should have been a draw. According to the statistics, John Fitch landed 47 strikes to BJ Penn's 12 strikes. John Fitch, it says 4 takedowns, but really what he did was he reversed 4 times. It says BJ Penn went for 1 submission attempt, it was more than that, and landed 2 takedowns. And passing of the guard, it says BJ Penn passed the guard twice. Called this a majority draw. With 47 strikes to 12 strikes, I think there's definitely a clear aggressor there. At the end of the fight, BJ Penn, who clearly thought he lost, was asked, "Did you expect to hear that you lost that fight?" And he said, "Yes." And he says, "Do you feel that you lost that fight?" And he said, "Yes." And he said the judges, were kind to him, and that he didn't know what he was going to do with his career if he had lost this fight. You see, now that kind of sucks. Again, he seems like, I want to see a motivated BJ Penn. I want to see a motivated BJ Penn like the one who came in really aggressive that knocked out Matt Hughes in 20 seconds or whatever, 27 seconds, 21 seconds. But when he's talking about, if I lose this fight, I'm going to just quit, or I don't know what I'm going to do, that's not a motivated, it's just like, it makes him less interesting to watch, knowing that he's just thinking about, I just need 1 more paycheck and then I'm out of here. Let's go on to Michael Bisping versus Jorge Rivera. Michael Bisping and Jorge Rivera were trading punches, and they obviously hated each other and were talking a lot of smack before the match. It looked like Michael Bisping would have won the first round. Here's what happened. Michael Bisping landed an illegal knee that nearly knocked out Jorge Rivera. It was so clearly like both knees were on the ground, hands were touching the mat, and he just intentionally threw an illegal knee that almost knocked out Jorge Rivera. This is what should have happened. Jorge Rivera should have said, "I cannot continue," because he had a disadvantage for the entire rest of the match. He was nearly knocked unconscious, and his head would never be right. Eventually, in the second round, Jorge Rivera got knocked out. Because, you know what, he was probably still dizzy from that illegal knee. I would like a rematch to see what would have happened if that knee didn't hit. There's no doubt in my mind that Jorge Rivera was concussed, had a concussion, was still dizzy, and decided to continue because the crowd was booing and they didn't want the fight to end that way. Jorge Rivera should have won that fight by disqualification. Michael Bisping celebrating, talking about his performance being about his hard work, and the bullshit. He won that fight because of an illegal knee. George Soteropoulos, which is just a ridiculously long name, who was someone I was really excited to see make the transition over to UFC. He's going against the insanely strong militant Dennis Silver, and oh my God, that guy is a beast. He just kept coming at George Sotiropoulos. George Sotiropoulos could not take him down at all. Silver was just swinging from the fences in such a way that made me unable to pronounce his last name, apparently. And he knocked him on his ass 3 times. Looked like, looked like George Sotiropoulos survived to a round 3 decision unanimous. He started coming back in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, but he survived the 1st round for sure. Chris Littell, I don't know how Chris Littell didn't get knocked out. Brian Ebersol just knocked him all over the ring, silly, and Chris Littell kept getting back up. He wasn't going to win the fight, but he wasn't going to get knocked out or submitted. Although it looked like he should have been knocked out or submitted several times in the match. Ross Pearson had a very impressive striking performance against Spencer Fisher and won that. Kyle Noki had a very impressive choke. I think it was submission of the night against Chris Kamazi. I don't know, I didn't. Nick Ring, you might remember him from The Ultimate Fighter. He had a really good match with Ricky Fukuda, and they went back and forth, but he won that. Mark Hunt against Chris Teixeira. I almost skipped over this fight. Because I was like, oh, look at these guys. These guys are fat and out of shape, and they're moving around real slow, and they're fighting sloppy, and this isn't going to be an interesting fight. And I'm fast-forwarding it, and I just see blood splatter. I'm like, whoa, how did that happen? So I went and I watched the fight. Mark Hunt landed an overhand right against Chris Teixeira, and oh my God. He went and he said, there's something in my eye to the referee. The referee said, it's your eyelid. There's blood all over his face, all over the mat, all over everything. The ref and the doctors did not stop the fight. They let it go. Into the 2nd round, after finding out that he was seriously injured, like an animal that's injured, Chris Teixeira almost took the match, sweeping him, taking him down, attempting a submission armbar, but there just wasn't enough time in the end of the 1st round. Looked like he was a little wore out from trying so hard to finish the fight in the 1st round based on that cut. Mark Hunt was clearly landing better strikes and just knocked the hell out of him. Chris Teixeira looked like Tony Tubbs against Mike Tyson, if you ever saw that fight, but he fell down, he tried to get his balance and stand up, and he fell back down again. Then he tried to get his balance, and then he just fell back. He didn't want to give up, but it doesn't matter because the ref said, "You're done, you're done," and that's it. That's how that fight card went. A lot of finishes, a lot of decisions. It was about half and half. But again, John Fitch, BJ Penn, definitely need a rematch. That was definitely bullshit. I don't know how it's going to go this next time. Depends on which BJ Penn shows up.